Okay, so we are here for another episode. We're very excited about this guest. We've been in touch a lot and we've moved our scheduled date a few times, which we apologize. And we are going to introduce Julie Malone in Wichita, Kansas. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi,
Nice to
Julie.
meet-
Thanks for being
Hi.
here.
Yes, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
And so what do you what's your story with adoption? Why are you here? And tell us your journey, maybe from the beginning a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
where were you born? What were the, you've listened to the podcast. You know how it
Sure.
goes.
I know. I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to tell this story?
Right.
Okay, so I was born in Wichita, Kansas, in 1968. I guess I think it was through the Catholic Social Services where I was adopted through. And I do, my adoptive father and my adoptive mother, my dad was 38, my mom was 32. They adopted me because they had a child of their own, but he had some issues and special needs and handicap or whatever they want to, they called him back then. And so my mother got a tubal ligation after that. And they decided they wanted to adopt. My dad came from a very Catholic family. So they did not love the fact that my mother had a tubal. But anyway, so they adopted me. And my brother was about 8 years older than me. And my birth
Was
mother,
he at home? Was he able to live?
when he was young, when he was a little kid, he was fairly normal. I mean, you would look at him and you wouldn't really think that there were a lot of problems. He had epilepsy, some cerebral palsy, kind of mild. But then it's just over the years it had gotten much worse. Probably around the time that I was like in junior high to high school. It was not a fun, happy family to be in. He got diagnosed with antisocial personality. He had a lot of seizures. He would fall and crack his head open all the time. And witnessing that for me, was very scary. It was very traumatic for me. And
you were still pretty little when this is going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the majority of the hardest part was probably, I don't remember specifically, like, I think when I was much younger, things were a little bit more stable.
Mm-hmm.
But the older everybody got, including my brother, like I said, he was 8 years older than me. So it just became more volatile. He became more volatile. It was
Were
scary.
you able to have a relationship with him, or was it
Not really? Like, I kind of did when we were young. We would play outside, a little bit, but he was quite a bit older than me. But when we were younger, we had more of a, what you call semi-relationship. As he got older, definitely not. Go ahead.
Were you told you were adopted?
Yes.
Okay.
I was always told I was adopted. I don't remember the day they sat me down and told me necessarily. I just remember knowing. And of course, I was told those similar things that most people are told of, your mother just couldn't take care of you and we chose you, you're special, those type of things. And
the baby scoop era narrative.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't, when I was younger, I thought, I was okay with it. I was like, okay. I don't think I really understood it, to be honest, but I was like, okay, I was special, whatever. And I had no problem telling people I was adopted. But I did notice strange things that I would do when I was young, but I never really understood that kind of now makes sense to me now that I know more about, because I didn't really get into this whole, I guess you'd call it coming out of the fog or whatever. Like, I didn't really know too much about the adoption and how much it affected me until just the last like 5 years, really. And I'm 54.
Yeah. We're right there with you, by the way.
So yeah, I mean, I just like, I guess I just didn't realize how many problems that it caused with me and my mental health, I guess I would say, and just my way of responding to the world. My birth mother, she, I'm in reunion with her. I've been in reunion with her for, since 1990.
Oh, that's
So
a
I
long
met
time,
her.
yeah.
Yeah, I met her when I was my last semester in college.
And did you seek her out?
I did.
Okay.
The way I found out kind of like who she was, well, what her name was one day I was playing in the basement, my parents' house. And I was just going through their files, being snoopy. And I saw a file that had my name on it. And so I looked in it, and it was like my original birth certificate with my birth mother's name on it. Had her name and some other information. And I was like, wow. Okay. I mean, I think they were trying to hide it from me or anything, but they didn't just come out and say, hey, you might want to look at this, you know? So anyway, once I got her name, I think that might've been in high school, and I didn't really actively kind of look for her until I was in college. And I had come home and I was working at the courthouse. My dad was a judge, and he worked at the courthouse. And in the summers, I would come home from school and work in the courthouse. And there was a girl there that knew somebody who found people's birth families. And that was just something she enjoyed to do for people. And she would just charge for, long distance phone calls, because back then we didn't have the cell phones and things like that. So I had the information, I had her name, when I was born, where I was born. I was born in Booth Memorial Hospital, which was a Salvation Army home for unwed mothers back then. And so I had that information and gave it to.
Was Booth in Wichita or what? Yes. Okay. The Booth, because they're all over.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In Wichita, we had one in Wichita, I guess. And she, where was I going with that?
Well, did you just call her? Like find her phone number? Give her a call.
So I gave this lady her information, and she found her. It took about 4 months because my birth mother was traveling. Her name's Jean. And she was like in Europe or something. I was like, oh, okay, that doesn't sound bad. And so when she got back, she contacted my birth mother and kind of told her what was going on. I was looking for her, blah, blah, blah. And so the lady said, I'll call you and let you know what she says. Well, she didn't. My birth mother just called me. Ooh. And so we just talked. It was very weird, like, hi, is this Julianne? And I never went by Julianne, just Julie. It's like, yeah. What have you been doing the last 21 years? It was kind of uncomfortable.
What had your birth name been?
She gave me a name before she gave me away, Christiana, after her sister. So anyway, we talked, and it was just weird and a little uncomfortable. But we, sent each other pictures and letters and things. And at one point she said, do you want to come out and visit? They lived in California at the time.
She was married.
She and her current husband, which is not my birth father. She
Did-
got pregnant. I'm kind of all over the place. I apologize.
Yeah.
No, that's how it is.
Yeah, go. But you had said you were born in Booth Memorial. Yeah. So was she young? Was she?
She was, well, she got pregnant at 15
Ooh.
with
Young.
my first sister. So
Oh.
I have two sisters biologically.
Full, like same father.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the story. I mean, we haven't done any tests, but we look pretty much alike. So she got pregnant with her at 15, had Brenda at 16, got pregnant with me a couple months later, had me. So like she was born in 67, like in June 67. I was born in June 1968. And then the next one, Rochelle, was born July 1969. So
was she married, or how old was her?
No, she was 15 and he was like, what, 16 or something like that. And
they were like high school, 3 kids.
Yeah, I mean, she loved him, and she said that they were together since she was 14, and they just didn't know about birth control, I guess, back then. And so she put the first two of us up for adoption. And then the third one, I guess she didn't want to give away any more children. So they got married and they were like 18, stayed married for about a year. And then they got divorced because, they were 18. Right. And she gave him custody.
Oh, interesting.
Because she came from a really complicated family. Like she was pretty much on her own. I mean, her mother had a lot of mental health issues. She had a lot of like half brothers and sisters, and I mean, she lived in like 2 different countries and 9 different places by the time she was like 17 or something. Like just a lot. Her mother, like I said, a lot of mental health issues on my maternal side.
She must have suffered tremendously with these losses of her daughters.
Oh, I can't imagine. I can't imagine either. And she's really never had any much therapy at all for it. I don't know how she's been as sane as she is. But
did so she didn't have support. I had a question. I lost
not at all. No support. She did have, like, when she was pregnant with me, she stayed with a friend and her mother.
I know what I was going to ask. How old was your sister when they got divorced and she was given up, and she gave up custody?
A year.
1 year old.
Gosh.
Mm-hmm. But she did grow up with her father. So, and then,
was that a stable life for her?
I was wondering.
I don't really know.
Your father, by the way, right?
Right.
Yeah. My birth father. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think she says he had some alcohol issues, and, but I don't think there was anything awful, like abuse or anything like that. But, I'm sure it wasn't a super stable environment for a while. He did remarry several years later. So she did have a stepmom, growing up. I've met his side of the family too. And, stories are different. They say, oh, well, she only wanted to see Rochelle when she wanted to, and it was convenient for her. And, she says, well, I always wanted to see her, but they wouldn't let me, so I don't know. I was just, doesn't really matter at this point.
Did Rochelle know about you and your other sister? Did they ever discuss
I don't think
it?
she knew about me. I don't know when she found out about me, to be honest, but I don't think she grew up knowing about me now, because I don't think he ever told his wife that he married about the other 2 kiddos.
She just thought, oh, he has the one daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
was everybody in Wichita? So here you are, you've got two half siblings out there somewhere. Did you all grow up in Wichita?
No.
It's not that huge of a place. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I grew up in Wichita. Brenda, the first one, was adopted from some people that lived in Parsons, Kansas. So she grew up in Parsons, which is some little small town. I've never even been there. And Rochelle and her father, birth father, grew up, well, I mean, part of it time here, but she mainly grew up in Texas, in Plano. So, but his sister and her husband and their kids, which would be my cousins and my aunt and uncle, have lived in Wichita the whole time. And my grandparents, so his father and mother, lived in Wichita. So we're just on the other side of town. I didn't know that.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah. And so, yeah, and I just always felt like an outsider, you know, just didn't feel like I was part of anything. I think part of that also, a big part of that, was the fact that my brother had so many issues that they had to put all their attention on him.
Right. So here you are, like adopted, and then you're kind of, it's still, you know, it's like it compounds the
it just makes everything kind of harder.
I was going to ask you what your role was in the family when you were talking about that. Were you somewhat of a fixer or just kind of on the side? Or
I was just kind of on the side.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I was traumatized by the whole situation. And, you know, I just remember in my mind a lot of flashbacks of when he'd fall and have a seizure. And, you know, it was very, even when he didn't crack his head open, it was just a very grotesque kind of thing for a child to see. And then they would run to him and I would just kind of be standing back.
Gosh.
And just like my nervous system was just on fire and freaking out. But the thing was, nobody came to see if I was
right.
Okay.
It's so lonely.
Yeah, I was very low. I still am to a certain extent, but yeah, nobody made sure I was okay. So I just internalized everything and thought that, I don't know what I thought. I just was scared and I wanted somebody to say, you know, are you okay? You want to talk about it? I know that was scary. Let me hold you. Let me hug you, something. But no. So, and that happened chronically for.
That's big trauma. That's really traumatic.
Yeah. And it happened for a long, like, he lived at home. Well, I left for college after 86. So I was, you know, after high school, I left. So at least I got out of the house for a little while.
Where'd you go to college?
University of Kansas. Go Jayhawks. Yeah.
I love that town.
Yeah, it's a great town. I haven't been there since I left. So
maybe we'll have to meet there for coffee sometime.
I know, that would be awesome. I'd love to see Lawrence again. But yeah, it was just really, I grew up like, I hated my brother. Hated everything he stood for and it was just so conflicting to me because on one hand, I felt really bad for him and really sorry. It wasn't his fault. But on the other hand, I couldn't stand him because he was everything that he took away everything that I thought I could have had, you know?
Well, and it's also, did you ever get in touch with having anger towards your adoptive parents for adopting you into this situation? Like, oh, you need a healthy baby, you know, it like selfishly in a way
I was very, yeah, I mean, not like at first when I was younger, but the older I got, I for sure was like, I remember I was so angry. I got really angry as the older I got. And, you know, when I was in junior high and high school, especially junior high. I was just really, you got your hormones going in junior high anyway. I was just angry all the time because the whole situation, and the fact that I remember yelling at my mom, like once I'd always run upstairs to my room and slam the door, and to be by myself. And I'd say, why did you adopt me? I yell that. And I'm sure I hurt my mother a lot, some of the things I've said over the years.
But you were verbalizing it, which is, it's like you knew deep down.
Yeah, I was just so unhappy. I just felt like I didn't belong there. And like I said, I had no soft place to fall, I guess you'd say. And I felt that way with both sides of my family as well. Like, because I felt like they looked at me like I was a really bad person because of the way I felt about my brother and the way that I acted towards my brother, reacted towards my brother. And I'm honest, it wasn't a nice, I was not a happy, nice sister, but he was not either. He was, like I said, he antisocial personality, he was kind of violent. And
you're just kids trying to work this out. It's
and
no help from the adults. And
because they didn't know what to do either, because
no,
they're from a different generation.
Yep. It would be hard now, right? So back then it must have been brutal.
Yeah, they didn't have any of the information then that we do now about things. And it was a rough place to be for me. I was, and I don't know if this is from being adopted, or I think it's a mixture of that plus all the cortisol and all the stuff that my mother was going through when she was pregnant with me. I mean, she used to say that she would, pull her hair out.
Oh gosh.
So I know that she had a lot of anxiety and cortisol going through her body. So that gets passed on to me. I was just really a sensitive child, like very sensitive, shy. So that on top of everything else, I just felt like this raw nerve walking around all the time.
Did you ever have any like health stuff later, like any kind of
you mean like now?
Yes, as you got older, like from like, do you think like autoimmune or
stress related?
I've a lot of stress. High blood pressure. I did get diagnosed. Well, I had breast cancer a couple of years ago. And I'm lucky I caught it really early. So I just had a double mastectomy, and just to get rid of the chance, because there was some on my birth mother's side. And I just thought it best to nip it in the bud. I'm a proactive person like that. So I didn't have to deal with it coming back or something later. So I've had that. I feel like I have, like right now I'm dealing with some heart things. I feel like sometimes my heart, like my heart rate variability is very low. And so I'm going to see a cardiologist soon, because
I have the same thing going on. And
really,
and it's a lot of anxiety, just deep anxiety. I think I'm trying really hard to tackle it, but it's
so hard.
Doctor had a lot of questions, and I'm like, I don't know,
It's like embedded in your body. Like, a lot of anxiety, stress, and depression. I've battled with depression and anxiety most of my life. I remember being sent to therapy when I was younger, like, oh, let's go fix her because she's the problem. And
not family therapy, but just you.
Right. Just for me, because I was unhappy.
Angry.
And I don't remember anything about it. I remember going to different places, but I don't remember anything about the therapy. Because I had as a child or a youngster, I didn't have the words to express how I felt. There are still times where I feel caught in here. Like, I can't speak my truth because I don't really know what it is completely. Like, I have a hard time expressing myself, even as an adult, like sometimes. So I struggled with substance abuse my whole life. I drank a lot. You know, high school, college, we all drank a lot. But even after that, after college, I moved back home for a while, but then eventually decided to move to Nashville, where I wanted to sing. So and get the hell out of here. So I moved there and continued to drink, of course. But I mean, I wasn't like a lush, like it wasn't an everyday drinking kind of thing, but I was a binge drinker for sure. And I had a lot of great times in Nashville, but I still struggled, and finally got rid of, I guess it was, I'd been through a lot of programs about depression and, you know, and trying to work through it and never being able to really work through it, and completely like I could never, I don't know. I never could figure out what was wrong, why I could never get through it all.
How did you start to figure out? I mean, you knew your birth mother. How did you start to figure out the piece between adoption being the issues?
Being trauma.
Or the core of it, yeah.
The core.
Honestly, just in the last like 5 years, I think coming home here and helping my mother, I think I worked part-time while living with her because of everything that was going on back and forth with her illness. And it just gave me a lot more time to spend online and research and listening to other people talk, you know, hearing about the podcast and reading and research. I'm a huge Google research freak, and researching about stuff and trauma and being more trauma informed. I don't know, just a lot of seeking out, trying to figure it all out. And I just had more time to do it. So, and then, you know, COVID came along and had a lot more time to do it. So, yeah, I just started to finally understand why I am the way I am, what has affected me, or why I was the way I was, and how it's affected me throughout my life, and how I respond to things now. And it's been extremely difficult for me to be here, taking care of my mother.
Once you started kind of coming out of the fog, and then here you are living with.
I'm living in the.
Yeah,
and you know, I love my mother, but I never connected to her. I've never had a bond.
So going back to that 21 years old, and you talked to your birth mother, and did you ever connect to her?
No, sadly.
I was wondering about that too, if it changed.
I was kind of hoping I did, you know.
How long were you with her at birth?
I wasn't. Like I was adopted. I was 5 days old when I was adopted.
Were you with her in those 5 days, or were you at a foster?
I don't know. She said that right when I was born, they just took me away. She didn't get a hold of me or anything.
I went through the same thing.
Yeah. So I imagine I was just like in a baby holding space for how many days? I don't know even where. I assume Booth Memorial maybe.
Yeah.
And you know, my parents adopted me, and there you go.
And they were going through stuff with their own son, so you couldn't.
Yeah, and I don't think that they knew that he was going to be as bad as he was. You know, when my adopted father passed away about 13 years ago, I would say I was closer to him than my mother. We still weren't super close, but I just felt a little bit more of a bond with him, just because, that daughter daddy thing, I think. But I remember breaking down when he was going through his cancer treatment, and I was home, and I had a really, I don't know, I don't remember what brought it on, but I got really upset. I was crying and breaking down, and went down to my room or whatever, and they came down there, and of course my mother was kind of just standing there in the corner. My mother gets really defensive about the whole thing. And my father, he said, we didn't know that it affected you that strongly. And he said, if we had known that it was going to be as bad as it was with Greg, we wouldn't have adopted you. So that's the closest thing I ever got to, I'm sorry, I wish we could have been there for you, or, so.
At least there was that acknowledgement from him a little bit.
Right.
Did
And
your
we
mom
did,
react to, did your mom react to that at all, or just no?
She just was kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, she's always kind of been defensive, like, sorry, I just think, I don't
Turning
know.
it around
Just-
and make it about her feelings.
I guess, yeah. She's still softened up a little bit about it now, but when I talk about anything about the past like that, or how it's affected me, and she gets kind of defensive about it, I think she just hurts her, I guess.
And she
Guilt,
probably has her own
probably.
trauma with your brother too. So, and
Oh, I'm
without
sure.
therapy and help, everyone's in this walled up.
Is he
Yeah,
still alive, your brother?
yeah, he sure is. He nobody thought he'd live to be 62 or however old he is. When my dad got cancer, he was still living at home at that time. My parents were still catering to him or whatever. And when my dad got cancer, they had to put him in a group home because she couldn't take care of my dad and my brother at the same time. So, which was the best thing they could have done.
Yeah.
But so he's still in a group home here. He has a miserable life. I mean, he knows enough to know that his life is miserable.
That's
It's very
sad.
sad.
That's very sad.
And I'm softened up to him over the years. But I still remember, like, I would come home, and like when he would come over for Christmas, or we would go pick him up, like I'd still feel all this anxiety in my body. Like I just couldn't stand to be in the same room as him.
I'm sad the group home experience could have happened much younger, for him and you. And
yeah.
Well, unless that's
I don't know that I
Great.
would have gotten a whole lot of different support, honestly, if he wouldn't have been there anyway.
Yeah.
It just made things more complicated.
We keep getting away from your birth mother, and then like finding your sisters and
yes,
and
I'm
your
sorry.
birth father, and I could
talk about it forever. So I found my birth mother. When I found her, I didn't know that I had sisters. She did tell me, the more we talked, that she had another child. She didn't tell me about the other one at first.
She didn't tell you about Brenda? Oh,
right. She told me about Rochelle, and because she was with her birth father, of course. And so, we kind of got connected. Rochelle and we actually met in Wichita at one point, and she came up for Thanksgiving or something, and to her aunt and uncles, and we all met. And so we became, we started having a relationship. And then
you met your birth father then? And
not at that moment, but I have met him. I met him once. And I'll tell you about that. And so after I met Rochelle, I was with Rochelle at our aunt's house, and she was like, "Oh, this is so great. You guys have met. Now you can get together with the other one." We're like, "What do you mean, the other one?" So she said, "Oh, you don't know about that one? Yeah, there was another another one, another
Wow.
girl. So I called Jean. I was like, there's another one. You didn't. She's like, I was not trying to hide it from you. It was a lot at one time. And I just didn't want to I wanted to wait. It was just so much at one time to come out and tell you. And I just wanted to wait. I was going to tell you. But anyway, so she said, yeah, there was another one. And so I'm kind of the one who brought everybody back together because I'm the one who researched and wanted to find her. And so Jean and Rochelle didn't really have much of a relationship all those years either.
Because Jean had moved out to California.
Yes, her mother and sister, they actually, when she was pregnant, just moved and left her. And I mean, her mother tried to kill herself a couple of times, once in front of them. So she has a lot of trauma from her past. That's never been resolved. And so Rochelle, let's see, I found out who the third one was. I found out her name and everything. And I reached out to her. She was not very receptive at first, but
did she know she was adopted?
She did. She had a brother who was adopted as well. She didn't get told that she was adopted until she was in high school.
So weird.
I know, right? And anyway, she the more I talked to her and called her and stuff, she kind of came around, and she eventually made it out to California to visit. And we all I remember when I met her for the first time, and her and I look a lot alike, and it was cool, but none of us really have a super tight bond or anything. I think we're all just have trauma and just don't know how to make those connections, I guess.
Did you have any other siblings beyond that? Through your, did Jean or your birth father have any other kids? So that
no,
you have half siblings out there? Okay. No, you have no half siblings?
Oh yeah, I do have 2 half sisters and a lot of girls.
Through him?
Through him and 2 and other women. Yeah.
No.
Not his wife.
One was from his wife at the time.
Okay.
And the other was from some random, I don't know who it was.
And Jean never had any other kids?
No.
Did she get, I mean, you're saying she didn't work through her trauma. Did she manage to cobble together any kind of life for herself?
She did, she's pretty, she did pretty well considering, especially considering all her other siblings, not so much, but she's had a pretty amazing life, actually. I mean, she's traveled a lot of the world. She's a great husband. He's a great guy. And she's a beautiful woman. Not that matters, but she just had a lot of fun things in her life that she's done. She worked at a studio in New Orleans where Stevie Wonder came in. She was in Hollywood for a while, and she just lived this great, crazy kind of life. A lot of drugs, back in the day. She dated the lead singer of Three Dog Night, so she had a pretty funky, cool life. And then she married Pat, and they've been married since she was 37, and she's 72 now. So a long time.
And does she have a close relationship with any of the 3 of you?
No. I mean,
does she want to, or is it?
I think so. I mean, we've talked about it. I've talked about it with her, and I want to have that bond with her. But I don't know that she's capable of that, considering all her past trauma.
Right.
She has her own walls and hurts that I think made it hard for her to really connect. we've talked about it. And she said she has good friends, but she said, it's been hard for me to connect with other people in a deep way. So
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
just hard for her. Like, I always wanted to go deeper with her and she never would. And it was just frustrating for me. But I understood that she just was kind of not capable of that. We still have I think her and I are closer than any of the other ones, even though one lives in the same town as her now. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just kind of feel like I'm the one who's really kind of been more verbal about feelings and things like that with her. And so I think that we have a relationship for sure, but
Is
and
it
I was just
Brenda that
out there
lives in the same
No,
town? Oh, it's
no,
Rochelle.
Rochelle.
And that
yeah.
was by design or coincidence?
Well, they moved from California when Pat retired, because California is just so expensive.
Yeah.
They moved down to Louisiana, and when they moved, and then Rochelle, my birth father, our father, died about 7 years ago. And then after he died, I think she kind of wanted families to be around some family. And Jean was like, she calls her mom and stuff like that. And I think I think it kind of is a little uncomfortable for her, because she said, I don't really know. I don't know what she wants from me. Like, I don't know if I can give her what she wants. Like, I have my own life, and I've always had my own life. And,
It sounds like she wasn't cut out to be a parent.
Well, probably not with everything
No.
she's been through. And
Yeah.
I don't think she knows how to be a nurturing mother. She doesn't, because her mother wasn't that way.
Right. Yeah.
And everything else, all the other traumatic stuff that's been in her life.
And then, so you met your birth father, and doesn't sound like, I'm
just
guessing.
once. Yeah. Why once?
I met my birth father once in Wichita. He was at his sister's house. I went over there. We met. I don't remember a lot about it, honestly. We didn't have a whole lot to say. It was strange.
Yeah.
And took some pictures, and then I remember speaking on the phone a couple of times after that, because he lived in Texas at the time. And then that was kind of it. And I did hear later that he never got that film.
For the pictures?
Yeah, he never got it developed. And it had always been on the camera. And years later, when he was married to whoever, he got him developed, and his wife was looking through the pictures and saw him and I, and thought he was like cheating on her or something.
Oh.
And he had to tell her about me. And still didn't tell her about the other one.
Wow. So did Brenda not ever meet him?
No.
Wow.
No, I don't think she really cared, honestly. And so that was that. And then
it's also secrets and lies. And it makes, hearing this whole story, it makes me sad. There's 3 girls, boom, 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 that could have grown up and been close. And, everyone's just traumatized. It's very hard to, everyone grows up, has your own trauma, and then you're all trying to kind of, put it together.
Yeah.
It's just sad. It's just sad.
It is sad. And not, honestly, if I would have stayed with her, it wouldn't have been a happy picture either.
Right.
You never
know.
You never know.
I was talking to someone last night, because my birth mother, she too was adopted, but when I tell the story, I always not forget, but I don't know, there's a piece of it, which was right after me, she got pregnant with a different man. And when she was 8 months pregnant, not close to giving birth, she had a bad car accident and lost that baby. And she was not she didn't give me up willingly. She didn't want to give me up. She was forced to give
Mhm.
me up. So I think those two traumas completely informed the rest of her life, you know,
I'm
and
sure.
Sure.
had she
Sure.
not given me up, who knows what that would have been like, you know, it might not have
I
been
think
so
about that
horrible.
sometimes.
You know,
Yeah.
it
You
might have,
don't
maybe
know.
those traumas informed who, you know, later. But anyway, it's,
Yeah.
you just,
And and people
no way
don't
knowing.
really know the impact of their trauma unless they want to know about how it, some people are
Yes.
just live their life with blinders on and just deal with whatever is in front of them. And they don't think about, I'm one of those people that I'm just I have to know everything.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And it's scary when you start to know. That's the thing. It's funny you were saying we're the same age, you and I, 68, and same college years and stuff. And I'm thinking, here we are, 54, and really going, oh, and Sarah and I too, when we got into this, it's just like everything. I lie awake at night and think, oh, this is why I did this. This is why I acted this way. I start remembering things as a kid I forgot. And
mhm. Yeah.
it is scary, but it's also like, well, the door's open. So you don't close it again,
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
try to talk about this stuff with my sisters, at
Mhm.
times, and to like send them things that might, like a video or something,
Mhm.
or an article that might explain some things. And I don't know if that helps.
You
I
never
don't know.
know, you know, bits
Uh-huh.
and pieces they can,
Yeah.
people hear it when they're ready to hear it. And
Yes.
then it's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And some people aren't ever really
Yeah.
ready for it. But all of us have struggled with depression and anxiety. And, I've done ketamine infusions, I've tried everything. I'm trying everything I can to feel calmer and better and
Mhm.
more stable. And
I think talking about it too, just even you coming on here and being brave and telling your story.
yeah,
At the beginning, it was so weird for us. And then I was telling Sarah, it's our therapy too.
yeah,
Because people are
yeah,
like, oh, we're so excited to come on. I'm like, no, we're so excited. I mean, for us, because
yeah,
all
yeah.
weekend I'll be like, oh, that was, it's another layer.
On a
And
lighter note, I don't know if you guys can see how Woody just he went right to my pillows. He's not supposed to do
he's
that.
not allowed on the pillow.
He's like, Mom's busy.
Yep.
I-
She's
I-
not looking, but he
I like
doesn't
about
know.
Julie, when she first got on, no, the listener doesn't hear this, but she showed us her dog right away. It's so adoptee-ish,
I have
isn't it?
Yes.
another dog too, Sammy. He's my soul
Sammy.
dog. Yeah, but he
Sammy,
doesn't want me to
aw.
pick him up because he's a nervous.
Gracie's not allowed in here because there's a lot of busy wiggling and knocking over things the whole time. It would be like,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I took their collars off and I gave them bully sticks. So I
Yeah.
thought
that'll last a while.
because they're
Everyone
older, they give a little
appreciates
bark.
the sound of dogs, though. No, well, our listeners, I think, appreciate the sound of dogs, and
They
and
do,
on
and-
YouTube they can see them. So if you
And
want to show them
animals.
real quick before we
Yeah, show us
wrap
your
it up.
dogs.
Hey, come here, Sammy. And he's busy with his bully stick. He's a cute little bug. He's a little white cockapoo. He's my boy. I got him the year
Aw.
after the month after my dad died.
Oh.
So he was my
That's
I
the
love
joy.
dogs.
Like when you talk about it, that's the joy, right? I mean, thank God for
Yeah.
animals.
I love animals. Yeah. I was
Well-
trying to remember if there was anything else that I was going to tell you, but
Well, if you think of it, write us. It was such. I'm really happy you came
Me
on
too.
and talked to us.
Thank
'Cause I
you
know
for
at
having
first you
me.
were like nervous, but see how it's nothing to be nervous about. It's very,
no, I know. I just have social anxiety.
yeah.
I have anxiety about everything. So
Yeah.
It was
So,
really
yeah.
nice to meet you, and maybe we should meet sometime.
I
since
have
we're
to
the
fly
same-
and
Me
see
too.
Sarah so I can meet all these people because she's going to have a good amount of coffees coming up.
Yeah, we should have a big. You should fly in, and
a
we
big
should like have a little
adoptee.
meeting,
Yeah.
adoptee meeting.
I was thinking about that there's a lot of people that live around Sarah actually, and we should do that. And,
Yeah.
and actually in LA, then we could do it too. And it'd be neat,
Yeah.
I mean, Kansas City is probably where I'll end up when my mom passes. And,
Well, then you have a friend. You have a friend here
Aw.
already. So
oh, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should do that. Yeah, we should all
For
meet.
sure.
I go to Kansas City occasionally, every now and
oh
then.
God, let me know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I live right down near the river market.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So nice to meet you, Julie.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Julie.
much
meet
for coming on.
you. Thanks for listening to my story.
Oh,
So.
thank you for sharing
And thank
it.
you for your podcast. I love
Oh,
it.
Thank you.
I'm glad. All
Okay.
right. Talk to you soon.
Okay,
Okay.
bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.